Democrats. Today is Monday, August 30th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Monday. So every day I come to you, I try to talk to you about bills, elected elections, and every once in a while I got to kind of go off on things that I want to talk about, and today is one of those days. I'm going to try to fit it into that little framework, but when I get passionate about a thing, I'm going to talk about it as much as I can, and it might look a little clunky today because my producer, the executive director, Scott Hamilton, is off today taking some much needed R&R. Hey, Scott. So I want to talk a little bit about, you guys heard me talk about House Bill 1674 from like February until, last week, because I was so passionate about the fact that we do not need a bill codified into law in our state that says it is okay to run over protesters. That if you run over protesters in our state, you cannot be charged. No, you will not be charged criminally, and you cannot be charged civilly. That's just a little bit of that bill. And so Joshua Harris Till made a valiant effort to get signatures. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Mary. To get signatures, enough signatures to veto this bill, and they were unsuccessful. He was a couple thousand signatures shy, which is so disappointing. But we're not done. And I told you last week, we were not done. We were going to keep fighting this, and we're going to keep partnering with whomever we can to stop this bill. And so today I have a guest to talk about his efforts, what he's doing to fight this bill. And so I want to welcome and thank Anthony R. Douglas, the president of the Oklahoma National Association of Colored People, known to everybody else as NAACP. I want to bring him on today to talk about the lawsuit that was filed today. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me on.
Awesome. So you heard my intro. So talk to me about the lawsuit. What is the lawsuit intending to do?
Well, what we're intended to do with this lawsuit is really to stop this bill, because we found out this bill is very controversial. It affects our First and 14th Amendment. So in order to stop this bill, we had to file this lawsuit. And I work with the law firm, the Institute of Constitution Advocacy and Protection at Georgetown University Law Center, who is also a lead attorney in the bill, along with the Riggs Abernathy and a local attorney, Melvin Hall, who filed the bill this morning.
So my beef with this bill is that I think that it takes away it minimizes our rights, our First Amendment rights, which is the right to freedom, assemble peaceably and to have our say. And then it also is an attempt to quash our attempts at direct democracy, the things that we do to let our legislators know, right? Protests, rallies, gatherings are how the people writ large meet and say to legislators, we don't like this. And I believe that this bill is trying to squash that.
And you're correct. And let me just say this, and you're correct about this bill. First of all, we found out that this bill has been poorly written. And when you take a bill like this to target your First and 14th Amendment right, the NAACP will step up and defend you, the citizen of the state. What this bill has done to us is saying that even if you belong to an organization and you're out there protesting, that you can be fined. But also, what this language in this bill has it written, whereby they use the terminology of riot. No organization go out to protest to conduct a riot. So we need to be honest with ourselves and talk about, we don't go out to protest or rally to start a riot. When we march, when we rally, and we protest, it's not about a riot. So who is the define to tell us it's a riot? We may have conversation. It may get heated in the conversation, but that does not mean it's a riot. So when they use the language riot in the bill, they're trying to define everything we do as a riot. But we looked at this bill targeting the Oklahoma State NAACP, because we know we will rally and march, and we're going to continue to rally and march and not let anyone define us and tell us that we can do it.
Okay, so I was at a press conference today that you led where there was a lot of conversation about the unconstitutionality of this bill. This I'm gonna call it a bill because it's not a law just yet. Unconstitutionality of this bill, as well as the vagueness of the wording. And so you just touched on the fact that riot is so vague that anybody can define it as long as there are three people. But like, what other kind of language was vague?
Well, just bear with me for a moment.
Okay.
What we find in this bill, it was written to make it easy for police to arrest those individuals who protest against police brutality. Right? It is
Right.
it is designed to chill effects of civil rights organizations by threatening them with excessive monetary fines. How you going to find somebody for protesting? How you going to block them from rallying and marching? So with that bill, it can ruin an organization, even the union. Even if you go up, and also if you look at some of the bills that Oklahoma has put out there, some of them are still pending where they don't even want you protesting or rallying even at the Capitol.
So this bill goes into effect on November 1st. Your organization filed the lawsuit today. Do you think that action can be taken in enough time to keep it from becoming a law, or is it going to be a law and then we have to kind of undo it
Well,
if it's successful?
That's why we filed it today, to stop it from becoming a law. So now that it's been filed in federal court, it now puts it on hold until the courts rule upon it and find out. And if you looked at, I think you got a copy of the filing.
Mm-hmm.
That filing is very detailed. It lays it out with a lot of things in it that will stop it from becoming a law. And we feel strongly that we can prevail on this bill.
Okay, so that's the other. So Iowa and Florida also passed this law in their legislatures this year. Do we think that we can be successful based on what happened there, or is Oklahoma the test case?
Well, actually, Oklahoma has always been a test case before they go anywhere else. But we know that my Florida State Conference NAACP is also filing a lawsuit in their state to start to change the language and stop a bill from being effective as well. But Oklahoma has been a test case for so many bills and so many laws that if it become effective, what impact would it have on us? When we look at the protests that we're seeing around the world, and we look at the protests we have in Oklahoma, we know our young folks can be targeted. We know that this bill will affect it'll make you afraid to even go out to protest and even have a rally or march.
So you said that this was filed federally?
Yes, in the federal court.
Okay, so this isn't just about the protests and marches that happen in Oklahoma City. This isn't just about that. It's a more global issue.
This is really a more global issue. But as our legislator has used the language from other states to try to draft this bill, that's why we said that this has to be filed in federal court, not local and state court. Because when you look at the way this language is written in the bill, and it's so broad, you can get charged with anything. And so it gives the DA's autonomy to charge anybody with anything.
So let me ask you something. So it was filed, the people named were our Attorney General and the DA for Oklahoma County.
That is correct. We filed it against the Attorney General and the DA, David Prater, Oklahoma County, because this is where we have seen the largest protests happening in our state. Now, we could have filed it against the governor, but we had to file it where we felt comfortable that we've seen the protests in our state, and we've seen how people in our state, in Oklahoma City, has been treating Oklahoma County. So that's why it was filed here in this county. Okay.
So I'm just trying to make sure it was filed. The folks named were our Attorney General and the DA for Oklahoma County. I just want to make sure it covers all of Oklahoma, not just Oklahoma City, because in Tulsa in 2020, we actually had someone drive through a protest and run a young man off of a bridge.
Yes, and those examples and what you just shared with me is going to be a part of this case as we continue to interview individuals and say, come forward. If you know someone has had this happen to you, come forward. Also, what this bill has done, if you look at the language, it tried to give the drivers who run into protests immunity. Now, we know that when we're out there protesting, people will challenge us. We block the highway sometimes, but we don't go out to commit a crime. We don't go out there to intentionally destroy anyone's property and all that. We're going out there rather march. This bill and this language is saying that it even put a damper on Martin Luther King parades that we have around the state of Oklahoma.
Well, they could charge the organizer if something happened untoward at a parade. They can charge the organizer with organized crime, right?
That is correct. And that's one of the things they're saying. Even if you're not, you wasn't an organizer, even if you is an organizer, you could be charged as a crime. If you participate in, just like a labor movement, let's look at labor, for instance. If labor was having a labor rally, the crowd get big, you have both sides out there, the police out there, you can be charged with a crime. So how this bill can impact the economic development of Oklahoma? How do we?
Well, it makes me nervous. I'm going to be participating in a Labor Day parade next week. It makes me a little bit nervous.
That is correct. Because even in a Labor Day parade, somebody may come up to protest against you guys for the labor union, and then confrontation happens. Everybody gets in front of each other, and then they say, "Okay, this is a riot." 3 or more people is considered a riot in Oklahoma. If
Okay.
you have an argument with 3 people and 3 of you standing there, does not mean that's a riot.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to tell us what the next steps are, Mr. Douglas.
Well, right now, once we have filed it in the court, is give the Attorney General and the DA to respond to it, their filing. Based on their refund, determines what action we will take right now. So it's in the court system. So now we're waiting on the court to determine the constitutionality of this bill and once they respond, we'll know what to do. Do we continue marching and rally? Yes, we do.
Do we think this is going to be largely a paperwork trial where paperwork is just passed back and forth and then we find out what happens?
Most of the time it's filed in federal court. It becomes a paperwork trial. It's still the individual testifying. But what we need to do is be able to present arguments and ideas and people who has been affected and show that, hey, this happened to me. I will witness this, what day, time of year, so we can gather our information up to date. We've been working on that with some of the young people around the state already. But if you know anybody else, they need to come forward too.
So Kimster McBee has a really good question. How can the public help you? Where do they send their stories? Like you said, if they know someone who's been harmed in a rally, I'm going to call it a rally, if they know someone who has been harassed while participating in direct democracy, how do they reach out to you?
They can send it to they can email me at Oklahoma State NAACP at oknaacp.org. And that's oknaacp at oknaacp.org.
Is that it?
oknaacp at oknaacp.org.
Okay. So if they they put this in their URL, it will get to you?
Yes,
and there's a place for them to fill it out?
Yes, it does.
Okay, awesome. So I am sure that folks have stories. And so if you do have a story that you think that will benefit the NAACP in this argument, please go out to their website at oknaacp.org. And I'm sure that there's an icon for you to click that shares your story. And someone from the NAACP will reach out to you because we need to stop this law.
That is correct. Also, let me add into this here. We need them to contact any organization, anybody, the parties, no matter what your party affiliation is. And this is not just about African America. It's about the constituents of the state of Oklahoma.
No, it absolutely is about direct democracy. It is not just about African American issues, although I suspect that's what they were thinking when they wrote the bill. But there are many issues where folks need to be able to express their opinion in an organized manner. And if we make it open season, where somebody who doesn't like them can just run them down, it's a matter of us not having our freedom of speech anymore.
And that is correct. And we will not stand by and allow. We will continue to advocate and train people. And that's one of the things that I try to do with my young people around the state is train them how to go out and rally and march. Let's not, and we know they just take to the street, but even when they take to the street, those of us as leaders that's out there, let's encourage them to stay peaceful no matter how confrontation the situation may get.
All righty. Well, thank you, Kimster McBee. She's going to do a big social media outreach and see if she can get folks to give you some stories, Mr. Douglas, because we need to stop this law from actually being in effect. I want to thank you gratefully for joining me today and kind of giving an update to those who follow this this Facebook Live, because it's a thing that people need to know. And I've been talking about this ad nauseum since February. And I am willing to partner with whomever I think that we need to partner with to stop this from happening. So thank you very much. And thanks for joining me.
And Chairwoman Andrew, let me just say this to you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you getting behind the NAACP. And I hope that we can advocate for everybody to get behind the NAACP. Too many times the legislature has written bill that is misleading and nobody has ever stood up to them. It is time that we take an action to stand up and say, no more. It's tired of this in Oklahoma. You're becoming an embarrassing legislator to put bills out there without even inviting us to the table to help draft the language of this bill. So we got to say no more. Let's stop it.
All right.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so very much. All righty, so that's the bill that I wanted to talk about today. The elected officials that I want to talk about, I'm going to lump them. Governor Stitt, Attorney General O'Connor, and Dr. Miguel Cardona, the Secretary of the Department of Education. The Department of Education nationally is looking at 5 states, and yes, Oklahoma is included in one of those 5 states, and investigating whether we're violating the civil rights of disabled students with our prohibition on mask mandates. This is happening at the same time that our Attorney General is planning to sue our local school, school districts regarding the mask mandate. I hope that Secretary Cardona moves quickly. Our students want to be in school. Our parents want our students in school, but we all need to make sure that we're putting them in school in the safest possible environment. And what our state is doing is not ensuring the safety of our students, and that's problematic. So I'm glad that we're getting some national help, and let's see how that works. So that's my bills. That's my elected, and then there's an election 2 weeks from today all over the state. There are several counties that have propositions that will be on their ballot on September 14th. Go out to the state election board, put in your name, your birthday, find out if you're in one of those counties. Become familiar with it. Request your absentee ballot. Become familiar with it so that when you show up at the ballot, you are educated. All righty, guys, thanks for joining me. I will be back tomorrow at 4:15, and you guys have a great day.